Good afternoon and welcome to Donington Park for the final 3 rounds of the GB3 Championship here in 2023, where unlike the GB4 Championship, everything is up to be decided. The Teams Championship, JHR, currently in the lead of that one, and we have 5 drivers going for the championship. Realistically, only 3 of those drivers are likely to be fighting for it, and already after qualifying, one of those drivers has a massive advantage. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, but let's remind ourselves of what happened last weekend as we went to Zandvoort for the penultimate round of the GB3 Championship.
Highlights from Zandvoort as we got underway for our second international round of the year. As Alex Dunn starting from pole position on the race down into the first corner, covering off Mackenzie Creswell, but our attention was drawn a bit further down in the pack. Matthew Rees coming over the nose of James Headley, then make contact with Kuharczyk. It was unfortunately a retirement from James Headley. Kuharczyk was able to keep going, but of course with where Headley's car was, the safety car would come out. Once we got back racing though, it was Alex Dunn in control, and with a perfectly executed restart, he was able to pull a comfortable gap over Mackenzie Creswell on the race down in the first corner. Nico Christodoulou was trying to take over third position as he was trying to hang on to that final stop on the podium. But of course, Joseph Loke was closing in. The top 2 would clear off into the distance, and it was Joseph Loke trying to attack for that third spot on the podium, trying to find his way up the order. Last lap of the race, and he would get his opportunity straight down the inside at Tarzan, and it would be Joseph Loke up into that third spot, Christodoulou being knocked off the podium. And of course, for Joseph Loke, it was closing in on our championship leader, who was fighting to try and get his way past Matthew Rees. Was unable to do so on this occasion, was unable to do so all the way up until the checker flag, unfortunately for him. But someone who didn't have to worry about anything, 6 seconds clear of the field, it was Alex Dunn taking a victory once again. As we move on to the second race though, we'd have to start from second place in the grid and trying to attack Mackenzie Creswell into the first corner. That's exactly what he did. Perfect start from the high-tech Pulsate driver. Mackenzie Creswell a little bit slow. The likes of Joseph Loke trying to get down the inside into that first turn. And it was a solid one for Dunn. Up into the race lead into that first corner. A couple of little lock-ups from various drivers on the grid. Too major. A little bit in the background though, as Jack Sherwood would have problems to have contact with the likes of Mavliatov and Shea, and it would actually break the front left suspension on his car. Plenty of side-by-side battles as they would work their way up into the third corner. A big move down the inside from James Headley as he'd get his way up into 4th position after passing Joseph Loke. There'd be a safety car courtesy of where Jack Sherwood's car was. Once we got back underway, once again, great restart from Alex Dunn. Bit of a lock-up into the first corner, but nothing too major. Just pulling up that front right as we take a look at why they went under safety car. Jack Sherwood out into the barrier after breaking that front left suspension. He'd pull his way over to the left-hand side of the circuit, but the race would still continue. For the likes of Jared Waberski though, he was running really strong. This time though, getting pushed off a little bit by Matthew Rees. Out wide he would go, and dropping right the way down the order. He'd have further issues in the race, and unfortunately would have to retire from this one. This was a move quite late on. Callum Voisin against one of his championship rivals, straight up the inside of Joseph Loke, but he would get a 1 position penalty for breaching track limits whilst doing so. Alex Dunn though comfortably clear of everyone, once again coming out through the final corner to take his second victory on the bounce here at Zandvoort, and his 4th one abroad in GB3 this year. As we got though ready for the reverse grid race, the rain had really come down, extremely difficult conditions, and it was really tough on that race down towards the first corner. Husenreder had a great start to the race. Unfortunately for Jack Sherwood, it wasn't quite the case. Mavliatov into 2nd place, of course trying to work his way back up the order after that restart, looking for yet another victory. There was 3, 4, 5 wide in the background as they're all trying to work their way through the first corner. Shooter around making contact with his teammate Michael Shin going through that first corner, and thankfully they were still able to continue in the race. But by the time we got down towards turn 2 and 3, this was where all the drama happened. A big snap for Husenreder, but it got worse for those behind. Costa Paris, absolutely no steering on his Ronan Cullen, would go straight on. Gerard Shea had gone up into the barrier on the top of shot, and unfortunately James Headley joined him. The crash between the pair of those would bring out a safety car which would neutralise the race. Once we got back racing though, Husenreder was feeling the pressure from Mavliatov, who was straight down the inside into the first corner, trying to work his way up the order in case of another safety car, and that's exactly what Mavliatov did. Straight up into the race lead, a perfectly executed move. Unfortunately, he'd go off the corner a little bit at turn 2. He'd be joined a touch by Husenreder, who would go straight up into the barrier, and unfortunately that would cause yet another safety car. Of course, everyone trying to funnel their way through into that third corner and try and work their way up the order. Alas, there was no real opportunity. Callum Voisin in all of this had worked up 10 spots and had gained a strong championship lead once more heading into the season finale. But for the 4th time this year, it was Daniel Mavliatov taking the victory, Noah Ping just behind, as well as Arthur Ojon.
What a great weekend over in Zandvoort for Alex Dunn with 2 race wins. But in that final race, Callum Voisin from Roden Carlin made it 10 places and retained the championship lead. And actually after qualifying, you're in even a stronger position. 2 pole positions this weekend. I mean, that's everything you could have hoped for, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, that's exactly what we needed, I think, especially after the difficult Zandvoort that we had, to come back and, bounce back with a double pole, especially in the wet when, it's kind of a bit of luck. Nobody really knows what you're going to get, especially, with changing conditions like this weekend. So, extremely happy. I think, we just got to keep that going and keep that momentum, rolling. Yeah,
with the conditions of Zandvoort, obviously here it's a little bit wet as well, but we don't have the wind. Does that make it, in theory, easier to drive?
It changes, like on Thursday we didn't have practice yesterday, but on Thursday we had a lot of wind. It was similar to conditions to Zandvoort, so it does affect the car quite a lot. I think in theory it probably does make it a little bit easier, but it's still not easy. Some corners are trickier, some corners are easier. It just depends how much speed you can carry, and it affects the balance an awful lot, especially these cars with a lot of downforce and pretty light. So they do get affected a lot by the wind, but it was a tricky session, but glad to end up on top.
When you start on pole position here at Donington Park, you've got Alex Dunn behind you in the second race, and you've got Matthew Rees with JHR behind you in the first race. How easy is it to defend on this first corner here at Donington, and who are those drivers do you think might give you the most problem?
I think it'll be them too. As long as we get a good start, I think we'll be okay. But our pace seems really good, so as long as I can get into the lead into turn 1, which should be fine. But we'll see. I think on how difficult it is to defend into turn 1, I don't really know. I think last year I managed to do okay, so fingers crossed it'll be okay.
And finally, obviously, leading the championship into the final round, there's a lot of thought that probably goes into that, and you probably have to distract yourself a little bit on race week. What's your preparation been like?
I've been all over the place, to be honest. Preparing for the Autosport Award, which is next week. I've kind of been all over the place. I haven't actually been at home for something like 3 weeks now, so I've been living out the suitcase for a fair bit. But general preparation. I haven't really done anything too fancy for this weekend. We're in this position because we've done a good job. So to me, there's no point changing anything up. So just staying calm and just doing my job as usual.
All I'm going to say is I hope you found somewhere to wash your clothes during those 3 weeks away.
No, I had not a dishwasher, a washing machine, I should say. Definitely not a dishwasher.
Nice. Well, look, Callum Voisin will start both of these first 2 races on pole position. And actually, between Zandvoort and this round, which was a double header, I sat down with our commentary team, Piers Pryor and Lewis McGlade, in the GB3 mansion, actually, you'll see what I mean in a second, to discuss the championship race. Well, can you believe it? We're already at the end of the 2023 GB3 Championship. And we just thought we'd sit down now ahead of this final weekend to take a look back and talk about the title contenders. I've got Piers Pryor and Lewis McGlade, who have been mainstays throughout the championship this and last year. And guys, we need to talk about the 3 guys that could potentially win their first GB3 Championship this weekend. Let's start with Alex Dunn. And Piers, Alex has come from winning a championship last year. He's come in, it's taken him a little bit of time at the start of the season to get used to the car. But since then, we've just seen a meteoric rise, but no wins in the UK. What is that all about?
Yeah, no wins in the UK, but plenty of wins abroad. Double winner, of course, at Spa. The pace was ridiculous. That high-tech Pulsar car clearly working well there, but he drove the wheels off it. Same thing at Zandvoort. Didn't quite get the double pole that he had at Spa, but in race 2, managed to get away and won 2 races there as well. So that's helped him hugely in his championship challenge. And I think if he can continue that form that he's had recently, coming from Zandvoort into the final round, it's going to be hard for the other guys to catch him.
Yeah, and Lewis, you've watched a lot of drivers at this age and below, and to come in and do that in a rookie season is impressive. Where does he rank in terms of the young drivers out there in the different championships that you've watched?
Well, I mean, to be fair, he's used to being a rookie. Like, he's jumped between so many championships, doing stuff in Europe, doing stuff obviously here in British Forest last year. He's done a lot of stuff where he's come into it as the rookie and has impressed. And so in that sense, it shouldn't be a shock. Even coming into the season, we were looking at him being, maybe he's a driver to watch. Whether we were expecting him to go out and win, contend for the championship, potentially win the championship right for the off, that was a bit more up in the air. But him and that high-tech team, of course, did win with Luke Browning last year. He's an incredible talent. And he just seems to be able to learn a track so fast. Going into Donington for that, I mean, his form there in British Air Force at the start of the season, he did have a couple of wins. around there. So he's kind of got a good form. That was on the national level, the Grand Prix. I mean, I think he will take his first win in the UK. I'll just pass that. I'm going to say that now. I think he will.
That's bold.
Yeah,
he's got to break that one. Moving on then to another rookie, Joseph Loke, who's come into this championship and had one of those seasons where he was really strong at the start and maybe his performances dropped off a little bit. He struggled with a few things here and there, but then he showed recently that, he's been able to get those results when maybe we thought he wasn't going to get them. And it's brought him back, very much into this title picture, Piers.
Absolutely. Joseph Loke, potentially one of the surprises of the season. Not surprising that he's been quick, but just the fact that his speed has been consistently there and that he's right in the championship hunt at the end of the year. Of course, JHR, a great team. They've got a lot of pedigree in British single seaters especially, but they're going up against Rodin, Carlin, at High Tech Pulse 8, who are teams that are at the front of pretty much every championship on the single seater ladder. Joseph Loke has come in and been the match for his teammate, Matthew Rees, and actually been slightly more consistent. I thought Rees was going to be right up there in the championship for this season. And I think he's just been a bit unlucky on occasion to not be in the right place at the right time. And that's where he sort of fell just behind Joseph Loke. But, complete credit to Joseph Loke. Rapid the first round and people thought maybe it was just a good qualifying run and maybe the good beginning to the season, beginner's luck maybe. He's shown that he's every bit the match and a proper championship contender. And he's been right with the other two guys at the front of the championship, even to Zandvoort. He was right in the mix there as well. Great mature driving and great for the JHR team as well.
I was going to say, one thing that strikes me with Joseph, and, Lewis, you've seen me and Piers chatting to Joseph quite a lot, is his maturity, both as a person and also out on track.
Yeah, considering he is, I would say one of the younger drivers. I mean, everyone on the grid's terribly young compared to us. But he is a young driver. He is a young talent. And he is a driver that we can see genuinely go really very far in the motorsport world. He's got that talent and ability. Sometimes it needs to be nurtured a little bit more, but that's the job of Mike Epps, who's been trying to guide him through the season. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and you can kind of see that in the races. Sometimes he doesn't take unnecessary risk, and I actually love to see that. Don't get me wrong, there are sometimes where he goes for a move and you think, oh, that was maybe a bit much. But most of the time, it's measured risk. And seeing that in a young driver is so impressive. That's what's, not just the pace and not just the race, that's one of the things that's kept him in, even when he's been having a bad weekend.
Let's look at our second-year driver that's in contention, and that is Callum Voisin, driving for Rodin Carlin. Obviously, his second season with the team's changed names, things potentially changed behind the scenes for him, and something that's changed massively is he's come into this year, and we said at the beginning of the year that he looks older, he's kind of jumped in the perceived age that he looks, and he seems a lot more mature, he seems a lot more calm as well, and I feel that's come across in his driving, Piers.
Completely agree. He's matured as a driver, he's matured as a young man. He started with baby fresh-faced at the beginning of his last season, had the pace, he was rapid on occasions last year, but just lacked that consistency, lacked being able to bag points round after round. Made a couple of mistakes here and there. He was also caught up in some incidents as well last year. But, especially I remember Brands Hatch testing and qualifying until he had his crash.
Yeah.
He was absolutely up the road. He was probably one of the fastest drivers by a stretch that weekend. But then that was a great example of Brands Hatch last year. Had a crash in qualifying and then had to start pretty much from the back of the grid of those races. But he hasn't really had a situation like that this year. In fact, probably one of his worst qualifying, just Zandvoort last time out, but he was in 10th, but then managed to come through in the first two races to get some solid points up with his championship rivals.
He did, and Lewis, being a second-year driver there, we can really see the benefit of having a rookie season in GB3 and then moving on and seeing what you can do. It also makes the other two guys that we've just spoken about seem even more impressive that they have come in their rookie season, and although it may have taken a little bit of time to get fully used to that car, have absolutely smashed it, in that first year.
Well, I mean, look at last year. I mean, as much as Luke Browning wasn't a second-year driver, he still did a round in the previous year, and then just kind of, I think, settled the nerves a little bit going into next season, and that's why he looks so strong. So he kind of wasn't a rookie driver. Callum Voisin doing the full season last year. Yes, like you said, there were a couple of rough patches. The Brands crash, I distinctly remember as being like, oh my God, because we thought he was going to clear off that weekend. Even the first weekend, he had that crash with Javier Segura, his teammate, in the very first race whilst Trevor Carlin was watching on. I'm sure that wasn't a great start in the team, whether it was his fault or Segura's fault, however you want to see it. He has built on it and has looked like a completely different driver this year, because I would say most of the time this year, he has certainly not looked like the fastest driver. We've spoken about it so much on commentary, where you make your championship in your bad weekends. And so many times he's just gone, right, do you know what? We've got the pace for 5th. Let's take a 5th or a 4th or whatever. Obviously we want to be winning. It took him how long until he took his first win? It was all the way up until the 2nd race at Brands before he got his first win of the championship. But he had so many podiums before that, just showing his consistency and his mentality.
Yep, so 3 great young drivers that have entertained us, impressed us all year, and one of these guys will be the champion at Donington on the Sunday. I think it may even come down to the final race of the year, the reverse grid race. It's going to be a case of who can make up the most places, and I think that'll be really, really exciting. And actually, a great testament to just how close the racing's been this year. So yeah, Callum Voisin, Alex Dunn and Joseph Loke go into Donington, all fighting for the championship.
Well, to Leicestershire and just about at the Derbyshire border as we head to the 2.5 mile circuit of Donington Park. It was opened back in 1931 and is one of the oldest circuits in Europe. It is the oldest circuit in the United Kingdom still in use. An absolutely fantastic venue, full of history and full of challenging corners. Big overtaking opportunities in the likes of Redgate, McLean's, Coppice, the Foggett ES, Goddard's, etc. And of course, for the brave, down into the old hairpin. The Wheatcroft Straight is the start-finish straight up towards Redgate and then down this enormous hill, 2.5 miles in length, but so much elevation. You get a real good look of it here as we come down the hill, through the Craners, through the old hairpin, and then we begin that climb all the way up through Starkey's Bridge, Schwantz up towards McLean's. It is a fantastic circuit for racing and certainly one that will challenge all of our drivers this weekend.
Well, I'm now with another of the drivers in the championship hunt in the GB3 Championship, Alex Dunn from High-Tech Pulsate. Qualifying, talk me through it.
I think wasn't an ideal session to say the least. Obviously P3 and P2 is never bad, but with Callum on double pole, that makes it a little bit worse. I think pole was definitely in there. I think I got traffic on what would have been my best lap, but these things happen, and I'm sure it was difficult for everyone, and some people just managed to execute it a little bit better than others. Disappointed, but it's not the end of the world.
Coming up in this race, you'll be behind Callum with Matthew Rees in between you, and Matthew's shown that he can be quite an aggressive driver. Is it the kind of situation where you'll maybe just see what happens in that first corner and maybe let them tussle, because that could in theory give you an advantage into the second?
Yeah, ideally, I think the 2 JHR boys have been pretty good at the starts all year, so if Matt can make a good start and make something happen in turn 1, and then I can pick up the pieces, that would be nice. Obviously I'm going to go for it and try my best, but I'm not going to force anything and then put myself in a bad position. If the opportunity is there, I'll take it, and if it's not, then I'll just have to sit there and relax. So we'll have to wait and see.
After those 2 race wins back at Zandvoort last weekend, that must have been great for your confidence and coming into this. What have your preparations been like?
To be honest, nothing's really changed. I've always thought that what we did in Spa and Zandvoort this year, I don't see why we shouldn't have done it at any other tracks. Like I said earlier in the year, just a little bit of bad luck and then some things that didn't really go our way, and I think those things kind of hid what happened, and the issues we had were a lot smaller than what it looked, but because of the outcome it made it look worse. So I'm just gonna do my best. It's the last round of the year, I want to enjoy it as well, so I'll see what happens.
Well, we'll definitely enjoy it back at home. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
So joined by Mackenzie Creswell. Obviously qualifying's just done. You qualified 7th. Talk to us about your feelings on that one.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to start, but for sure we should be a lot higher. P1 for most of the session. I think like about 6 minutes to go, people started improving, and we just couldn't find any time in the tyre. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing that the one time we don't get a red flag in quali, it's sort of when we need one. But no, it is what it is. We know the pace is there, so going to hope to move forward in the race.
You got an unbelievable podium record and a very good second half of the season. Are you obviously aiming to continue that on?
Let's hope so, yeah. It's going to be tricky for 7th, but it is possible to overtake around here, so I'm going to be, elbows out going for it. Race 2 is a good opportunity to get on the podium, starting P4. Just need to get a good start and hopefully move forward from there. But yeah, it's going to be, I think it's going to be quite chaotic, the races, because it might be sort of half dry, half wet, so there's going to be a lot of people sort of sliding about and creating opportunities, so hopefully we'll be able to go forward and score some good points.
Obviously you're a bit of an outside chance for the title. Are you thinking about that at all, and if not, what are you thinking about?
You always think about it. It's difficult not to, but I mean, you just need to get in the car and do your job. That's why we're here. That's all you need to focus on. So I'm trying to just focus on doing the best that I can do in the car, and yeah, just seeing where that ends up in the championship. P3 is still on. I don't know exactly how many points it is, but yeah, it's definitely possible to get in the top 3 we just need 2 good races and a good reverse grid race. So yeah, let's hope for the best.
Well, cheers, Mackenzie. Good luck.
I'm here with Joseph Loke from JHR Developments, qualified 8th in this race coming up. That's not where you want to be.
No, obviously 8th isn't ideal. Obviously having Alex and Callum at the front as well isn't exactly, you know, hasn't exactly gone to plan. But at the same time, you know, it's going to be a bit of a chaotic weekend, I think. You know, them 2 at the front is always going to cause mayhem, no matter what the conditions are. And obviously in the wet, you've got less grip. We might be on slicks in the damp, which might even be more exciting. So, you know, not all hope's lost. You know, we've still got to just fight as much as we can. And, you know, I still believe that I can come out on top.
Yeah, having your teammate on second for this first race shows that the car is there, and if you can get it right, then you can make up some places. What's your week been like then since Zandvoort? Because it's been back-to-back race weeks, and you're in the championship hunt, so there's probably a lot in your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's been quite nervous, kind of building up to this weekend. You know, we all have so much pressure on each other, and you know, I don't think it really affected me too much. I think it was just happened to be we didn't quite get it right in qualifying. Obviously, my teammate being up there is a good kind of it's a good way of seeing where the car is, but yeah, it's not ideal, like I said, but we'll be fine. We'll fight back and we'll give it our all.
Excellent. Well, nice to chat to you. I interrupted you eating a little bit earlier on, so I'm going to let you go and prepare for this race, and we'll take a look at what it's like to go around this track here at Donington Park in a GB3 car.
On board with Callum Voisin then to take a look around the Donington Park circuit. Of course, the Grand Prix layout up towards turn 1 at Redgate, 540 metres out of Goddard's. We reached that first braking zone, being very careful. Got to pull it back over to the right-hand side, but of course in these tricky wet conditions, it is a difficult one on the run down the hill, going through Hollywood into the Craner curves. About 700 metres from T1 all the way down into the old hairpin. Incredibly fast, drop down a gear or 2 in these conditions, certainly 2, before you wrestle the car all the way through. Got to watch out for going too wide though. The curve generally will be slippery on the outside. They head up through where Starkey's Bridge used to be, up through the Schwann's curve and then into McLean's. Good overtaking opportunity here for the Brave. You can get it to the inside, but you have to be bold and you have to be committed. Up towards Coppers, a blind right-hander as you go up and over the crest. Watch out, find the apex, let the car kind of wander over to the left-hand side of the circuit before we head out onto Starkey's Straight. About 600 metres before we get into the braking zone at the Fogarty S, and then take a deep breath and fully commit through this one all the way through, using the curb on the left, curb on the right, watching out for those sausage curves as well, not to overdo the car, not to overspin it. As we head down the hill then into the Melbourne hairpin, it is steeper than it looks, but it's kind of almost like a double apex hairpin. You really want to go and find that last one to get a good straight drive down towards the final corner at Goddard's, pull it back over to the right-hand side of the circuit before committing into the braking zone. The circuit drops away very quickly, almost blind completely into the corner as we prepare for another lap, and that is a look around Donington Park on board with Callum Voisin.
Well, that was what Callum Voisin can see around the track here at Donington Park, and this is what we can see right now. Callum Voisin just chatting with people in his team at Rodin Carlin, just getting ready to start on pole position, the first race here at Donington Park this weekend in the GB3 Championship. Matt Rees behind him, of course, and I found GB4 driver from last year, Maximus Maserati, although it's so cold, more like Minimus Maserati, I imagine, today. Would you like to be out there in these conditions?
Oh yeah, definitely. Any chance to get in the car.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. When you look at the conditions out here, obviously we had a huge downpour yesterday. They did get some testing in on Thursday. These drivers have obviously driven here before, most of them, so they're going to know this track really well. Is there any particular part of Donington Park's track where the water might be, or you know, the damp surface might be more of a problem?
Probably towards where it starts going downhill, you'll get like rivers coming across, so when you're coming through Craners, which in these cars would be flat out even in the wet, and coming into the hairpin just over here behind us, that, you know, the first hairpin, and then you have the second one. The second one's not normally as affected, but the first one is downhill. Yeah, the rivers were streaming and qualifying, even though it wasn't actually raining then. So places like that just to be a little bit wary of, but you know, with the wet, it can be different every time you go out.
Yeah, we've just seen one of the cars in one of the other racing series slide off at the Melbourne hairpin, so it's still very, very wet out there. You must be impressed by what you've seen from Callum Voisin. Obviously, he was in GB3 last year while you were doing GB4. Had some good results, was really quick, but didn't manage to get it all together. And this season, he's really brought everything together as a racing driver. His racecraft, his mindset, and also the car is there and the speed is there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's with Carlin, so he's not going to get a bad car, and he's been so consistent this year. He's always been there. You know, whenever you look at the results, Callum's always been at the front, which is, you know, massive credit to him to be that, because it's so hard in a long season to be that consistent again and again and again. It's really, really tough. So he's done a really great job to maximise the car that's been given to him to be in this position that he's in now.
Yeah. Double pole position for Callum Voisin, so that means he'll start in pole position on the first race tomorrow. In second place then, a little bit of a shock, still technically in contention for the title. It's Matthew Rees here with JHR, the number 5 car. You can tell this car apart from his teammate by the very striking orange detail there on the car. And Max, you were just telling me before we came to the assembly area, you know, his job today, as much as he's up for the championship, it's very unlikely. His job here is to try and help Joseph Loke as much as possible, because, you know, Joseph Loke is his teammate. He's there vying for the championship, but he's starting down in, what, 8th place? Not where he wants to be. So what can he actually do for his teammate?
He's going to have to go really aggressive for the start. I mean, luckily for Loke as well, it's not even just to help him, really. I mean, for Reese's own championship position, and also, you know, he wants to go for the win himself. The best thing he can do to help Loke is actually to win this race and to take those points off of Callum, you know, to, if he even can, to run Callum off a bit, get him a bit flustered, and then hopefully allow some other drivers to come through. So Reese is in the best position here to help Loke, but then he's also going to be helping himself. So
yeah, and drivers always look out for themselves first, or as much as you can have a teammate. Just behind is Alex Dunn. We obviously heard from Alex Dunn in a little bit earlier in the pre-show. Suter Arau in the Red Bull branded car, and you weren't there at Zandvoort, Max, but they were absolutely cheering for a different Max at Zandvoort, the home of Max Verstappen when it comes to F1. And just by having the Red Bull livery on the car, I think Suter Arau had a lot of fans over there. But his season's been one of those ones where it's starting off a little bit tricky. We've seen some really consistent performances from him straight after that, and I guess when you're getting used to a car and getting used to a new country with different tracks and different conditions, that's kind of what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a huge part of that. You know, everyone else here has raced, you know, would have raced something around these circuits, whether it's a Formula Ford, whether it's a Ginetta. They'd have done something else leading into this championship, you know, F4, so they had built up that experience. But if you're coming here and you've never even seen the circuits before, okay, they do a lot of pre-season testing, but still it doesn't make up for actual race weekend experience. And over the course of the year, he's clearly been learning, because now he's right there at the front with his teammate Alex, and I mean, the car just looks amazing, doesn't it? It looks
really,
so
really
good.
Does. It's one of those cars where people who come along and obviously they know F1 really well, they see that and it clicks with them completely. We've got obviously Mackenzie Creswell, another driver that's had a really good second half of the season, you know, and I think Piers was saying last week at Zandvoort that if Mackenzie had kept that up the whole season, he would absolutely be up there. It's championship form. We've also got James Headley here, the number 4 car with Hendy on the front there, as you can see. And also an ice cream sponsor, which me and Max were discussing. An ice cream sponsor would be dangerous, wouldn't it, if we were drivers? Well, I mean, you're a driver, but you know what I mean, if you were sponsored by them. We're going to just duck in and speak to James Headley, hopefully. James, can I have a very quick word with you? Can you just explain to the viewers what the cake is, please?
The cake? My birthday when it's nice, though, because basically it's just the setup. If the setup's good, the cake's good. That's it.
I think I understand. We'll leave you to it. Thank you very much. James, the cake a little bit more in detail. What he was saying was that the team put the ingredients together to make the car, and I think he's the baker.
Okay, that would make sense.
And then everything, the whole performance is the cake. I think that's what he meant. Is that right? Have I got that wrong? Something like that. Is he the baker in this situation? What? Okay, he's just fat shamed me live on the stream by saying I should have less cake, but he's not wrong, so that's fine. Let's come over here, take a look at the other cars. Max Esterson here in the number 42 Fortec. I've never been fat shamed live on the stream before, but it's fine. Maybe next year I'll go on a diet or something, who knows. You know, Max Esterson's been putting in some great performances as well. We know he's done a couple of rounds of FIA F3 as well. When you're doing other championship rounds, Max, is that a distraction for you? Or, you know, when you're driving, it's all the same skill?
No, I mean, it all helps. It's just more track time. I mean, this time, the Formula Ford Festival, which is taking place right now, he actually won it this time last year.
Yeah.
So, I think his brother's competing there, but, you know, same in the wet. Normally with Max, with his Formula Ford experience, he's usually quite good. He's very good at moving the car about. So I think he's at the front anyway. It's if he can make up some more places, if he can maybe he's not too far off the podium. I mean, let's see what happens. There's 2 people fighting for a championship here, and one person who's really going to try and get in the mix. That could open some doors for Max.
Well, the cars have just started, as you might have noticed, as we scurried out of the way so we don't get in any problems. we're looking at the tyres here. Most of these drivers here are on used wet tyres, so presumably they're the tyres that they would have qualified on earlier on. But some of the drivers have put brand new wets on. What's the thinking behind that? We know that the car in the background, you can see there, the Fortec car of Jared Roberski, number 20's got new ones.
He's going to have to work really hard to scrub them in. I don't think it'll give you that much off the start. The more scrub ones are going to be better. Maybe it'll be better over the whole length of the race, but I think I would have preferred going on something that was already used for a wet tyre.
Yeah, well look, the car's going out now. You're going to go and join Lewis McLean on commentary. I do always ask peers at this stage, Max, who's going to win this race?
I'm going to go with Voisin. I'm going to be boring.
Okay, you can be boring. You give me that. You're going to run off. Don't get run over by a car, Max. As we can see, Joseph Loke going out there. Joseph Loke, one of our 3 championship contenders we heard from before, starting down in 8th place. So if you're looking for a car that needs to make some overtakes, number 84, starting in 8th place, Joseph Loke, the grey JHR Developments car. I have a feeling he'll be trying his hardest to get past some cars early on. There we go. Max is literally sprinting over there. I probably need to sprinting if James Headley's got a point with the cake. Let's go racing for the first time here at Donington Park this weekend in the GB3 Championship.
Well, the wait is officially over. The journey is ready to come to an end. All roads have led to this, and it is the Donington Decider. We have got an unbelievable weekend of racing in store, and I've got absolutely no idea how it's going to unfold. We've got 5 drivers battling for the championship. Really, it's between the top 3, and after a crazy round in the Netherlands, it is as close as it could possibly be. But qualifying earlier today has thrown a bit of a stick into the mud for Joseph Loke. He'll be starting further down the order than he wants. John has put it right there on the in the assembly area that he has a lot of work to do from further down the order than he would want to start out towards the back end of the top 10. 8th in this race, 9th in the next one. Meanwhile, his main championship rival, the championship leader Callum Voisin, is starting this one from pole position. Rode and Carlin have control here, but it doesn't mean that that's going to be how things unfold, especially in what is incredibly difficult conditions. We can see them rolling off there on the starting grid. Look down the order, there's Mavliatov. We'll talk about his qualifying performance because he's actually done rather well compared to his norm and frequent reliability in qualifying down the back end of the field. We'll take a look at the qualifying order. Callum Voisin on pole position for his 10th time in GB3. Matthew Rees will start alongside him on the front row in that 2nd place. Alex Dunn will start from 3rd, looking for his first win in the United Kingdom, having 4 abroad in GB3. Suter Arau, his best qualifying of the season, will start from 4th position alongside his teammate. Things looking good for High-Tech Pulsate. James Headley starting from 5th position, with Max Esterson starting from 6th, looking really strong, and things will get better for him in the next race as he rolls off 3rd in that one, but 6th here. Mackenzie Creswell, extremely great performance in his races, having the most podiums in the second half of the season. He'll start alongside Joseph Loke, looking for the championship, currently sitting 2nd in the title race. Timothy Kahacek starts from 9th position, with Jared Roberski starting inside the top 10 once again for the Fortec Motorsports team. John Bennett dropping down the order for Rodin Carlo alongside Nico Christodoulou, who'll start his way from 12th position. Arden VRD not looking quite as strong as they did a week ago. Arthur Rojan will start from 13th position along with Ollie Stewart, who's had some great form and is finding his pace in that elite motorsports car. Towards the back end of the field into 15th position, we see David Morales and Daniel Mavliatov, his best qualifying position in GB3. The 4-time race winner will start ahead of Noah Ping and Michael Shin, struggling a little bit around Donington for his High-Tech Pulsate car. Not quite up there with his teammate Costa Paris. Gerard Shea starting down the back end of the field. Just a few more drivers left to go. Ed Pearson and Patrick Hudson-Roeder will start from 22nd. I am joined in the comms box by Max Maserati. You've worked your way up from the assembly area. What's the vibe like down there?
It's quite intense down there.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's really, there's so many people in the fight here that, you know, like you're looking at Callum and he looks so focused sitting there, like,
just looking straight. He knows what he has to do this afternoon.
You were battling for the championship, of course, 12 months ago in the GB4 Championship. I mean, talk us through just the mentality, like the pressure that was on your shoulders when you were battling for that.
I mean, it is intense, but you're having so much fun with it as well. You're competing for a championship at GB4, GB3 level. It's so exciting. It's such a great thing to be a part of. So there are the nerves, but they're almost subsided by the excitement of what you're potentially about to do.
Well, here we go then. This is what is about to happen. With 3 races left to go on the calendar, our first one here at Donington Park, it is Callum Voisin on pole position, it is Matthew Rees alongside, and it is a championship poised for an excellent finale. What are we going to get with our drivers on the grid today as we prepare for our Saturday race in GB3? The lights are on and we are underway at Donington Park. Great start there from Callum Voisin, who pulls comfortably clear of Matthew Rees on the race up towards the first corner. Look at Alex Dunn darting down the inside, trying to find his way past Matthew Rees, who's defending quite hard for the first corner.
Very, very clean from everyone. Oh, as soon as I said that.
Who was that who's gone off? I think there was one of the Elite Motorsports guys. You've got Mavliatov in there. You've got Michael Shin as well. You've got one of the, I think that might be Ollie Stewart, who's worked his way through the end of the gravel. There was another car involved in there. That was, I still don't believe in the commentators, Gus. I was as near as it gets.
Yeah, great start from Cam though. Exactly what he needed to do. And now he's just got to not look in his mirrors and just put in the lap times.
Side by side then up the hill, Suter Arau dropping down the order, James Headley working his way through, a couple of squiggles there as they head their way through McLean's up towards Coppice, and they're off the road. That one is the number 16, that is Mackenzie Creswell. Oh, that is a big shame. Safety car, by the way, has come out straight away. That is courtesy of where Michael Shin has found his car. But Mackenzie Creswell, I don't know if it's the commentator's cousin, maybe. I did have a good chat with him before the race. He looked confident, he was feeling good about moving up from 7th place, but yeah, unfortunately not.
Yeah, tough break there. It's how it goes. I don't think he was in what started it. I just think he just ended up being a bit of cannon fodder there to turn 1.
So easily done. I was saying about Mackenzie Creswell's almost imperious form in the second half of the season. Since we got racing in that the second time we visited Silverstone, his podiums have come thick and fast. He only had 2 in the first half of the season. He's had 6 in the second half. That is an incredible performance. Obviously, he started this one from 7th. Tomorrow in the early race, if you are a Mackenzie Creswell fan, I know there are quite a few out there, he'll be starting that one from 4th position. I mean, I don't know if you could talk us through this and try and piece it together as to see what happened, Max.
We have to look in the mid-pack. Let's say everyone had a good start. Someone was on the grass there going in around where all the contact's about to take place. And if we look at where that is, it's back here, it's at this group here. Oh, it's like 4 into 1, just doesn't go. So what happened to Creswell then? Did he have a bad start? Is that why he ended up?
I wonder if we can take a look at that replay again. Joseph Loke.
Oh,
it was
yes.
Loke.
It was somebody else. It was further on. You're right. It's Loke who'd hit. That could be massive.
That's huge for the championship.
That could be really big. Where is he now?
Yeah,
Can we see where he's? What position he's in?
I will double check this one. Joseph Loke has found himself down in 13th position.
No.
So that's bad. But also, if he is the one to blame for that incident,
that could be a penalty, a great penalty for race.
A penalty as well.
So, I mean, they've got to put something on the board. They probably will call in 2 Voisin to let them know what's happened.
Yeah.
Just something to say, or where Loke is on the grid, just so he can know. It just takes that little bit of pressure off, makes you a little bit more relaxed. When you're sitting there as a driver, knowing that your rival is not out but falling down. When Nick actually had his incident at Brands, the Hill Speed boys put "think" on my pit board as they pull it out of the safety car to let me know. Yeah. So I didn't, overdo it and then have a crash myself.
You didn't pull a Nick Taylor. He did overdo it.
Exactly. So it's letting him know what's going on. Obviously, Dunn is still here, and that's why this fight is so good. There's more than just 2 of them in this fight, so he can't just completely relax because Dunn is only 2 cars behind him.
Yeah, and of course, looking at this, kind of thinking about that in kind of the racing in context of the championship. Loke, even dropping down to 13th, his back's against the wall. For Mackenzie Creswell, we were kind of talking about him being an outside chance of this championship. Realistically, I think he will be outside of the even points contention after this race, courtesy of that, depending on what happens to Callum Voisin. Matthew Rees most likely will, unless there's a drama for Voisin, so he might lose 2 of those protagonists, which we were expecting to lose anyway. I didn't expect us to potentially lose a 3rd.
I didn't. But it's not over yet.
Definitely
not. It's still damp, which means there is opportunity. It's not like when it's full dry and you've got really bad dirty air, which makes it really hard, and it's not full wet either where you can't see. So there is this nice little window where Loke can still come through. He's got a quick car underneath him. We know that like Rees isn't sitting in second at the minute. Rees can still help out. And but this is another opportunity when the safety car eventually comes out for Dunn to get the jump, to try and get into second and start putting pressure on Callum.
Yeah, and just to give you a bit of an update as well with where we are, I always say this when we get the safety cars out. I know everyone's bored of me saying it, but I'm still going to say it. When the safety car comes out, generally we go from a race of lap count to a race of time, and I believe that's what will happen here. There is 15 minutes left to go, and with there being 12 laps left on the counter, we're not going to get all 12 of those. So this will become a timed race once we get back going, because the way it works around here, it's 14 laps or 20 minutes, and it's whichever one comes first. And normally when the safety car interrupts, it's normally time, especially in conditions like this when the track is slower.
Yeah, I mean, just look how wet it is offline, and it's quite hard to tell because it's so wet offline. Look, do you see what Callum did there? Callum's trying to cool his tyres down. So he's actually trying to keep the temperature down the tyres so the wets don't overheat and just start shredding. He's basically thinking about the long game in this race. Rather than like we've seen other drivers, there was a lot of weaving going on trying to get heat in or keep the heat in. Callum's actually, look, he's just moving to the wet there, trying to keep the tyre pressures down.
Now, you were kind of like talking about this down in the assembly area. Obviously, we're having interesting kind of like discussions and seeing it. I know a lot of people were saying in the chat as the safety car lights come off. Before we get back racing, I want to speak. Who's got the advantage here when it comes to those that were taking new tyres and the older tyres? Because you were saying about like basically. Getting them sorted, rubbing them in, getting a little bit of the first.
Well, in these kind of conditions, you definitely want more of like what an inter tyre would be, and obviously in GB3 you don't have an actual intermediate tyre like they do in Formula 1. So a worn wet is effectively what an inter tyre would be, and that would work better than having a full wet tyre with all the tread blocks still in their best shape.
So you're still reckoning those that have taken that the older set of tyres, they're still at the moment they're in the advantage.
Definitely, unless it suddenly pours down now, I think they definitely would be, because the tread isn't moving any water at the minute.
And I can see by looking around the circuit, I don't think we're going to get any rain anytime soon, although it does look pretty ominous looking at this camera shot when you can see out towards East Midlands Airport and that lot. So the heading down into the final sector, I mean, to be fair, you can even tell the circuit is drying up as well. Definitely not moving into a point where they're going to have a pit stop, where they're going to have slick tyres on, but it could become even more difficult in these conditions as they head their way down, back under racing into that final sector. Once again, look at that restart from Callum Voisin. That is absolutely perfect. Matthew Rees there behind, feeling the pressure from Alex Dunn, who surely knows he has to do something immediately. He's got to get after Callum Voisin. He cannot let him run down the road as Callum Voisin's looking for his second win of the season somehow. Team at Kuharczyk trying to defend from Nico Christodoulou going through the first corner. This time, though, they come out cleanly.
Yeah, great restart from Callum there. If you look, he was actually the only one who took the dry line. He saw where the dry was. Rees and everyone else followed the normal traditional wet line, where I think it's still a bit wet, so that's why he had such a good launch there.
Yeah, really brilliant. There was Christodoulou trying to get around the outside of the old hairpin. In these conditions, I'm less sure about that one. There's Ed Pearson defending from Costa to Paris. Front of the field, though, blue car, red highlights. You've seen it so many times in this season. It is Callum Voisin, only this time he's pulling away. Mavliatov has been down and out on the exit of the old hairpin, so unfortunately for him, there are more issues in this race, struggling with the difficult conditions despite having his best qualifying of the year.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fascinating race now, because as well, it's what have the teams done with the tyre pressures? Have they decided to go high to give them something at the start, thinking it's going to be wetter than it was, or have a lot of, who's gone low on them, thinking, no, this circuit's going to dry out very quickly, it's probably not going to rain again, we need to have something that's going to last us the whole race.
And look at these sectors coming in from Callum Voisin. He's pulling out an unbelievable margin. It was a couple of tenths in the first sector, a couple of tenths in the middle sector. Look at all this in the background, though. You've got John Bennett with Joseph Lope, the 84, down the inside in that grey car. Big power slide, though. John Bennett's trying to hang it around the outside. And the number 27 with those yellow highlights for Rodin Carlin was almost able to do so. But again, it's getting very forceful from Joseph Lope, who's trying to work his way back up the order. And I think it's worked his way back up a few positions at least.
He has to. I mean, he's got nothing to lose now. He's just got to go full send. fatigued, and it looks like he is, and he's doing it very well coming back through the field.
Look at this though from Headley. I mean, if you're Alex Dunn, you're thinking, please don't get involved in my championship, good sir. James Headley says, I actually couldn't really care less about your championship, sir. I'm trying to go off my own thing.
I think I saw someone getting put on the grass in the background. I don't know what happened at the end of that shot, but yeah, Headley obviously got his own positions in the championship he wants to fight for, so he really doesn't care what anyone else's championship's doing. He wants to improve himself and put himself onto a podium.
Yeah, and of course, Matthew Rees is a little bit of still has a bit of a stake in this. He doesn't want to allow Alex Dunn to get through, because even if Joseph Loke doesn't end up going to fight for the championship, even if that eludes him slightly and maybe Callum Voisin runs away from it, still second position is up for grabs. And let's be honest, this title race is definitely not going to be done until that all-important reverse grid race on Sunday, the last race of the championship. I think me and you, Max, we're in for quite the weekend of racing here.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting, especially with these changeable conditions. The weather reports, I think, say this is going to be the wettest it's actually going to be. So, you know, this is going to be the most opportunity they're going to have to make passes, I think.
Certainly so. Defensive line being taken from Jared Boberski in the white, red and yellow highlighted Fortec car. There is a look at Joseph Loke, the driver that came into this race second in the championship. At this point, he's almost destined to drop back into third in the title race, as he finds himself now down in 10th position. You can see him going through shot just there. Now he's looking to try and find his way past Timek Kuharczyk, who's saying that he's struggled a little bit in the second half of the season. He started out strong. He started out with a lot of passion and gusto, but then things just haven't quite worked. Maybe it's the car, maybe it's him. It's Chris Dudulu. Unbelievable send.
Very, very good. I can't see if it pulled off. I remember trying to do that to Jared once, and he managed to hang it around my outside. I think he's done it again. Yeah. Not easy to get up the inside of Jared there.
I was going to say, you've had your fair share of racing with Boberski. I distinctly remember the first couple of races of the GB4 Championship last year. I think you were separated by about a tenth of a second of the first two races combined. It's ridiculously close, as it will be in the title race. Mavliatov comes into the pit lane for Hillspeed, so a bit of a shame there for the number 99, the four-time race winner in GB3, and I can see the Hillspeed crew trying to get ready for him in the pit lane, literally under where we are in the comms box, and is that it's just
overheating engine, because oh, that's a shame for him. He had such a good qualifying, having his best qualifying of the season. He's had, I think it's 4 wins this year, hasn't he? So I think we were talking about it earlier, if he takes the 5th, if he was going to take the 5th here, then a 5th one here, he could end up with one of the most, he could be the most winning driver of the season.
Yeah, I was actually talking to I was talking to Alex Dunn earlier, along with the Apex Racing team, the sim racing team that he races with and that he's around. As that is a big send from Loke. Oh my goodness me! Take a look at these replays. A lot of curb being used there from Headley in the background.
And that's allowed. The yellows are allowed, but the blues aren't. So perfectly. Look at that. Nice little drift there from James, getting it through. He's really trying to rag everything he can out of it, and it's so hard when you're stuck in that dirty air. So, you know, he's just trying to be as aggressive as he can to stay on the back of Dunn. And
oh my goodness me! Noah Ping and Ollie Stewart having contact at the final corner, and that'll be Ollie Stewart into the barrier. Now, I can tell you, having driven on the grass a little bit today, he is not going to be able to move that car. That is going to require some assistance. So Ollie Stewart down the inside, that's a little bit too far than a second whack for good measure.
And it looked like something else was happening near the front as well, just as it cut away. I thought we were going to have another incident, but you're right. Unless he can reverse it now, this is going to be another safety car. Oh, no.
He's trying to go forward. I think he's trying to put some more lock onto it. I mean,
he could get it out. He's moving, so he's not stuck.
Exactly. He's got to be so careful though with that clutch, and not as soon as he revs it, and as soon as it spins the wheel like that. There we go. Yeah. The rear wheel, like the rear wheels are spinning.
It's spinning.
That's done.
Yeah.
Basically.
Stop. You're making it worse. You're making it worse.
Yeah. So to be fair,
I mean, look at that from Callum. That looks so planted.
When you're in the car though, in that scenario, I mean, you've got to be kind of feeling it. By the way, just to note, there is 7 minutes left to go in this race. We've not had a call for safety car yet. There is potential that there might be one for that, because that car is stranded in an awkward spot, and that car seems to be unable to move courtesy of its own volition. But just to go to your point of that chicane, Voisin looks like he loves Donington Park. He did have a double pole here last year, remember?
Yeah, so, and that in his rookie year, it was extremely impressive. But watching how he's driving now, keeping the tyres cool on the straight, and then he's really getting the most out of the castle in the corners. This is a perfect drive from him so far.
He's just, like I say, he's man unto himself at the moment. Is Callum Voisin. He did take a victory in that first race. He had issues in the second one at Donington Park last year rather, and he did win at Donington. It took his first victory around here. How fitting it would be to take a victory around here as he tries to charge after the championship in 2023. 6 minutes left to go on the clock, and the safety car has been deployed. The safety car is out. I was about to say about how many laps we're going to get left, but the safety car has been deployed. I still think we might be able to get back racing again, because I don't think it will take them that long to get rid of that car.
I think you're right. Surely they'll be able to pull it out, and then it can drive itself back into the pit lane, which is already there.
Yeah.
So this shouldn't be long, and if it's only a 1 lap safety car, then we could have 1 lap of racing, but this will also depend on how... Look, Callum's not exactly gunning for it to get to the safety car. He's backing everyone up a bit. So if it takes longer to get to the safety car comes in and it takes longer to have that restart, it could all play into Callum's hands here.
I did see there is Ollie Stewart out of the car. So now that he's left the car, it's not going to be able to just go straight down pit lane. So that might delay things. Although the marshals, they see that they're already telling him, like, all right, jump back in your car, mate. Of course, we don't want to rush the marshals. They're extremely good. We speak about this all the time, about the Orange Army that do so much work to make sure that we can go racing. So obviously, hats off to those. Big kudos to those, especially for dealing with the difficult conditions. I also said as well, one other, like, I feel they don't get thought about enough is all the TV crews and media that are out and about around the circuit, particularly those camera operators that are everywhere, that are out cold, wet, hot, hailing, snowing. They're there. They're always there. Whether it goes red or not, they're still there.
Yeah. And getting drenched a lot of the time.
Goodness, yes.
Especially in England. It's not like we're in Spain or Italy where it's nice and hot. It's the UK in October.
Yeah, it's cold. To be fair, it is significantly warmer here, at least how it feels, than it was in Zandvoort just a week ago. That was cold and very, very windy. I'd actually say it's probably the least windy that I've ever had at Donington Park today, which is very bizarre because normally around here it's blowing an absolute gale. I think the person who'll be disappointed most, by the way, with that safety car is third position, Alex Dunn. Look at the lap times he was setting. He set the fastest lap of the race in his charge there.
He did. But he might also be thinking this is the perfect opportunity to try and now make a move on Reese. The work's done for him. He's right on the back of Reese now. So if they've moved it, they should be able to come in this lap, and we will still have at least 1 green lap of racing.
I was watching a couple of people in the background there who looked like they were dipping 2 wheels even onto the grass. I didn't realise we were playing iRacing, but realistically, Is that because there's like more moisture in the grass that might like cool it down?
Yeah, it's just wetter. Just trying to just doing what you can to cool the tyres down. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the best method because you don't want to get grass stuck on the tyre or anything like that. I mean, as we can see, we haven't watched Callum doing it, but he's been throughout the race. I think he's been one of the most drivers that you can see cooling down the tyres compared to everyone else.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, 3 minutes left to go.
I mean, look, no weaving whatsoever here, just keeping it dead straight, trying to lower that temperature as much as possible.
Is that the strategy that you would go for here?
I think at this point, for sure. I say it's working for Callum. He's looking pretty dominant at the minute.
It's kind of like whatever the lead is doing, I'll take some of that. Thank you very much, and I'll follow where you're going.
Looks like they all are now in the top 4 or 5. Look, no one's really weaving there. They're all just doing what they can to.
I'm going to give you a bit of an update championship-wise with the top 3, by the way. Callum Voisin, if things continue on as they are, if we don't get this race back underway, which could be possible, Callum Voisin will have 441 points with 2 races left to go. That would leave him at and I don't really want to do quick maths because 441 take away 413. 28?
Yeah. I think about right.
Who knows?
Around the late 20s.
I'll just say the points then.
Yeah.
441 for Callum Voisin, 413 for Alex Dunn, 404 for Joseph Loke, with there being 70 points left on the table basically from this point, 35 from race 2, and there is a theoretical maximum of 35 from race 3, even if it is very unlikely. With that being the case, Mackenzie Creswell, definitely out of the championship. Matthew Rees, definitely out of the championship. So they'll be focused on the fight for fourth. See, that's what I meant there. Nico Christodoulou just drove onto the grass.
Yeah, he's just trying to cool down the tyres, just doing what he can.
I've never seen that in race.
I mean, if it works for him, it works for him. But it's not something I'd recommend doing. It's going to be. I don't think we're going to get this.
No.
Green flag. It's going to be very tight.
Typically,
but if you're Callum now, you're going to back everyone up to make sure it's almost going to get to zero before you get to the line.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, actually, Callum Voisin, if anyone remembers, last year at the race at Spa, I think it was the second race, might be the first, there was a safety car intervention that took it to the end of the race, basically. And it was at the point where it was like this, where there was the cusp of a one lap restart at Spa last year. In the dry, it would have been exciting all that. Callum Voisin played his card so well. He did not move an inch until he needed to. Came across the line, and you were watching it 3, 2, 1, 0 across the line, and it was perfectly timed to end the race right there and then. Ironically, he did get a post-race penalty, but we won't talk about that. It wasn't for that. It was for something else in the race, but still, it was well judged. Basically, what I'm saying is Callum Voisin definitely has the knowledge to do that.
Yeah, and I think he will do it. I mean, under 20 seconds on the clock now,
it's not doing it.
I don't think he even needs to. And they have the lights even come off? No. Yeah, this is it. So. Brilliant race from Callum, doing everything he needs to do to get this win. Pole and win. He's one step closer now. He's got one hand on the trophy. It's just going to be about going home, having a nice rest, and delivering the same thing tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, there was a lot of concern for Callum Voisin and the Rodin Carlin team just a week ago after the qualifying session, where there was an incident with himself and Michael Shin. It left him down towards the back end of the top 10 in qualifying. He had a bit of a struggle, but still worked his way through the order, and we've only seen him take a single victory this year. Slightly subdued on the safety car, but Callum Voisin will take his second victory of 2023 and march on. I would say that this is 3 fingers on the trophy. Definitely not a full hand, but we are moving closer towards it. There are just 2 races left to go in the year, and honestly, that race it's narrowed it down, in my opinion, to potentially 2. But I genuinely don't know who it's going to be. Voisin looks strong round here, but Alex Dunn has gained the most points in a reverse grid than anyone else on the grid.
Yeah, it's going to be close. It could all depend on the start again next race. Callum's got to make sure he finishes the race no matter what, because even if he has a bad start or whatever happens, just banking those points. But the difference between a DNF and Dunn potentially winning could mean that Dunn then leads the championship again. It is still that close with 2 rounds to go. So Voisin just needs to make sure he does tomorrow exactly like he did today.
Exactly. Play the cards right. I mean, was that kind of how you were treating things last year when you were battling for that title? Like, obviously, you were in Dunn's position in that one, being a little bit behind. Taylor, you basically just like treated one race at a time.
I mean, it was difficult too, because our qualifying, if you remember, Nick crashed, caused a red flag, and I hadn't set a time yet. So,
I remember.
So it was a little bit different in terms of circumstances, but you've got to treat each race and just go, right, I'm going to try and make up as many positions as I can.
He is.
It's not over until it's over.
He is a devious one, that Nicholas Taylor. I've seen him out and about in the paddock. We all know what he's clowning about, of course. It's kind of one of those ones of having spoken to Dunn, even having spoken to Loke, and even to Callum. Of course, when you talk to them, it's almost as if like, well, yeah, I'm thinking about the championship, but I'm not really. And
oh, it's a lie. They're
100%. It's there.
They're going to be thinking about it.
We'll take a look at the provisional results then. Callum Voisin, Matthew Rees and Alex Dunn take to the podium. We'll hear from those in a few moments' time. James Headley in 4th position with Suter Rao in 5th. Great result again for the High-Tech Pulsate driver. Max Esserson looking really strong here, as is the Fortec team, because he's backed up by his teammate Jared Oberski. Christodoulou in 8th position, Timit Kuharczyk, and then Joseph Loke finishing towards the back end of the top 10, maybe even with a little bit of a steward's inquiry on that one. John Bennett finishing outside the top 10 with Morales, Arthur Rojon, Pearson, Taparis in 15th position before we get to Shin, Shea, Herzenrode, then Ping, and then of course a lap down with Mavlitov after his issues. Retirements for both the Elite Motorsports cars towards the back end of the field, Ollie Stewart and Mackenzie Creswell. Big shame for both of them.
Massive. I mean, they can kind of put any kind of, with the championship out of mind now, just go for it tomorrow and see the best results they can come up with. But yeah, obviously they're going to be very upset after that.
Yeah, and like that's kind of the whole thing with knowing how Mackenzie Creswell has built himself up through the season, knowing everything that he's put on the line, and knowing how he's really pushed himself forward in the second half of this campaign. That'll be very, very disappointing for him and the Elite Motorsports team, who do make a return in the GB3 Championship, which will follow this in about an hour or so's time. You'll see them come into Park Verme down into the podium area, where much like you had quite a few of last year, they'll get to celebrate another podium.
Yeah, I mean, Callum looks relieved sitting in the car, doesn't he? He's not jumping up and down. It's like here he is. He's climbing out now.
Do you think?
Let it sink in. I think there we go.
Do you think we're like, obviously, almost kind of following on a little bit as to what you were doing, where he's gone through the season, he's been ultra consistent, he's not really had the wins. Of course, he has taken 2. Not trying to throw the hat on that one, mate. But this is his second one. Bearing in mind how strong he's been throughout the season, it's odd to see a driver of his calibre, who did win more races last year, looking stronger in the championship, but not winning as much.
It's just about being consistent. You have to always be there. You have to be scoring the big points. And the big points doesn't necessarily mean first. That is the most points you can score, obviously. But if you can be second, while the guy in the lead is crashing or getting involved in other stuff, it's about what you can do over the whole course of the season, not what you can do in one race. At the end of the year, when it's the final race, and you say, oh, I only lost it because some unfortunate event where someone drove into me, you can then normally look back through the season and go, but then if I didn't do this, and then if this didn't happen in that round, and if I didn't, well, if you were like, I finished second and third all year, and then this happened,
yeah,
it's a bit more of a hit. You've got to keep yourself there to keep yourself in it.
Well, I'm not trying to instigate anything too negative, because I know some people will want to go after it, but it's kind of like Lewis Hamilton in 2021. You can't blame the one result when you can look at a few more. We'll head down though to John, as he'll be catching up with our podium finishers.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Just going to let Callum Voisin get his cap, which he has to wear. We went through this at Zandvoort. We don't need to go through it again. Celebrating with everyone from Road and Carlin. Just give him a moment here. Got to make sure the cap looks good. Right, I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, Callum. Callum, I've got to dip in there and say that, I know you love racing, but when you're leading the championship and you're on pole position leading the race, you're probably not that bothered that there was a safety car for a lot of that race.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what happened, but yeah, I mean, I haven't had that many wins this year, so for sure to add another one to the tally, and especially at this stage of the year where championship is very close, that's exactly what we needed. So no, very happy. Yeah, I want to see the highlights. I don't really know what happened, but no, very happy.
Well, we'll show you the highlights at a later date. But look, the tyres were obviously the wet tyres, and the track was drying up by the looks of it. And you looked like you were going wide at some points. Was that to get the bit of moisture on those tyres so that they didn't get too shredded?
Yeah, to be honest, it's very tricky conditions out there. It's not really wet. It's not really dry. It's just kind of in that that greasy middle. It means the tyres don't really work in either condition, so I was trying to just move offline to cool off the tyres as much as possible. Didn't really make that much of a difference, to be honest, but the pace seemed really good compared to the others, and especially considering there were loads of yellow flag and stuff, I was making sure I was slowing down. But no, very happy. Tricky conditions out there for sure, but yeah, let's see what tomorrow brings. I think it's supposed to be dry.
Your work here for today is done, and obviously Joseph Loke finished a little bit down the back, had a few issues there, and we've just seen Alex Dunn come over and congratulate you, and he's your closest rival now, and probably realistically the person that could beat you. Doesn't look very happy, and obviously finishing third isn't where he wants to be. Where's your head at in terms of get another race win tomorrow, and that's pretty much it?
Well, yeah, as you said, yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow, but for sure a double pole and a win is a good day at the office, so I'm very happy.
Congratulations. We'll let you go and celebrate another race win. Callum Voisin there with Road and Carlin. Let's go and speak to Matt Rees very, very quickly. I think I hogged him a little bit there, but it's all good. So good drive from Matt Rees there. Hey Matt, just a really quick word with you. What were the conditions out there like? It looked like a lot of cars behind you had a few problems, but you managed to keep it there. And I know there wasn't a lot of racing, but keeping the car on the track was probably hard enough.
Yeah, I think we were a bit cautious more than anything, just making sure we hold position. Not a great start, but managed to hold position, which is a great thing because Donington's quite hard to pass around here. A bit easier in the wet, but I think we managed to do a good job. Safety car restart, held position as well, so can't really complain about it.
And you're just hoping for a bit of a drier race tomorrow?
I've had my fill of moisture. I don't really want to do it tomorrow. Obviously starting a bit lower down, so I'd like to be able to pass, and obviously being in the dry, it's a lot easier. So I think hoping for dry, but if wet, we'll make the most out of it.
Yeah, well, you've got the pace for sure. Matt Rees, thanks very much for chatting to me. Matt driving with JHR Developments there. We need to go and find Alex Dunn. I think Alex Dunn, not to make a terrible joke, has done a runner. So we'll catch up with him later, but for now, let's go over to Lewis McGlade to talk through the podium.
Certainly so. We'll head over to them and we'll see exactly what's been going on the over on the podium side. Good to hear from Callum there. He seemed calm. He seemed interested in what happened in the race, to be perfectly honest. We'll head back down to John's to grab another interview because I think he missed someone.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lewis. Alex hasn't done a runner. He is here. Not where you want to finish. We saw you congratulating Callum there. It's getting down towards the business end of things, and finishing third is normally great. Not so great today.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think every lap I saw the safety car lights stay on the car. Every lap I was watching the championship disappear further and further. I think, to be honest, even if we went racing, to be honest, I don't think we had the pace to catch Callum, maybe to get close to Matt, but definitely Callum was too quick. Of course, definitely not happy to say the least, but Callum did a really good job in qualifying and he did a good job in the race, so he deserves it. Yeah, and I guess all you can do now is just focus on your own races tomorrow, starting second tomorrow, so that's the next thing to do and go into it with a clear mind, right? Yeah, I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to give up. Of course, I think it was hard going into this weekend, and after finishing third, it's going to be even harder now, but I'll give it my best shot. Nice one. We'll let you go and get your trophy. Alex Dunn with High Tech Pulsate. And Lewis, I will properly hand over to you now.
Thank you, Jonas. Yeah, I was like, is Alex Dunn not down there? No, he clearly ran off a little bit. So thank you, Jonas, for catching up with him. Always good to hear from all three of our podium finishers. But of course, Alex Dunn in contention for the championship, seeming slightly dejected by all that. Maybe feeling like the championship starting to slip through his fingers. Saying about every time he saw those lights on board on the safety car that maybe it was getting a lap further away and further away and further away. And it does seem as though things are starting to slip a little bit for the Irishman, but you never really know. It will start from second in the next race. Ends up getting onto the podium once again this season. Of course, he does have 4 victories on the card. That's his 6th podium, as Matthew Rees will jump back onto the podium for the first time since Silverstone. And now we have our 2-time race winner in the season. Of course, it is Callum Voisin. Has a great record when it comes to qualifying, but when it comes to race victories, he has just 5 wins in his total GB3 career. He has 10 pole positions. I think it'll be 11th rather, when you account for tomorrow's one, where he's once again looking strong. He's done the double at Donington. Once again, when it comes to pole positions, exactly the same at the end of last year. Although, from the 2nd pole position last year, he ended up finishing down the order in 9th. I wonder if that's going to be slightly ominous for tomorrow's race that should be a little bit drier and maybe a little bit more predictable. They all squeeze themselves onto the top step. But for those two on the right-hand side, penny for the thoughts of what's going on in their heads right now. Can imagine the pressure, the drama, and that's why there is no big celebration here. There's nothing major, it's just calm and get off the podium and get breathing ready for tomorrow. We'll take a look at highlights though from the race. Highlights from round 22 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Got underway down to the first corner with Callum Voisin from pole position and a brilliant start to the race. Matthew Rees covering off the number 22 of Alex Dunn behind. A bit of drama in the background as Noah Ping was squeezed off, but it was all in the foreground where we had contact between Joseph Loke and Mackenzie Creswell. And then there was this one with, of course, Mavliatov, with the likes of Shin getting involved. Shin's car got beached. We had to go under safety car. Once we got back underway, it was an excellently executed restart from Callum Voisin, who pulled a second clear basically on the first straight. Mavliatov went out wide, having a few struggles with his car, including sticking a load of grass into it, so he'd have to return into pit lane. There was plenty of battles up and down the order, including this one, as Nico Christodoulou was sending one on Timothy Kuharczyk. Behind that as well, Joseph Loke was trying to work his way back up the order. Late in the race, there was contact between Ping, and that would basically end the race, as Callum Voisin would take victory. A solid one again for Callum Voisin, taking his second win of the season. These are the provisional standings as of this moment. As I was updating you during the race, Callum Voisin 441 points, of course 28 clear of Alex Dunn in that second position. 35 points for a race victory though, so who knows. Joseph Loke in third position, dropping down the order. Obviously was in second coming into this one, now down into third. Mackenzie Creswell in fourth, with Matthew Rees now in that fifth position. Headley trying to move his way back up to the rear of Matthew Rees. That's why he was so feisty in that race. Kuharczyk, Christodoulou, Jared Oberski and John Bennett, just a point separating them at the back of the top 10. So plenty of fights happening up the order, down the order as well. Whilst we can't help but focus on that fight for the championship, there are plenty other fights in there. The Rees Headley one for fifth position. Hey, even Rees versus Creswell for fourth place, as well as those fights behind Nico Christodoulou's not exactly safe from the likes of Weberski and Bennett. There are even plenty behind that look fairly strong. Noah Ping not too far off the rears. Max S is having a great round so far, and will start the next race from his personal best qualifying of the year. We'll head down into the paddock area and catch up with Jonas and the rest of the field.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lewis. I'm here with Joseph Loke. Not the race you wanted at all. I mean, it's not been a great day. We spoke before and the qualifying hadn't gone your way. Just explain what happened out there, because I don't think we saw it fully on the TV coverage.
Well, of course, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, I haven't looked through it, anything like that. But yeah, just an incident at turn one. Obviously, I had to try and make positions in this race, obviously with Callum and Alex at the front. But yeah, I went into turn one up the inside and got turned in on, I felt anyway. Obviously, I need to look through it. It could have been my fault, and I don't realise it. But in the end, it cost us a lot of positions. Luckily, we didn't get damage from it. But yeah, just a really frustrating way to start the last weekend of the season.
How do you come into tomorrow then? Obviously, you have a bit of time to think about it. You can sleep on it, and you can refocus on your own race tomorrow. When it comes to the championship, obviously, Callum getting a win is not ideal, and also Alex coming third, not ideal either. Still, there's a chance, there's an outside chance if they come together. There's possibilities. But I mean, obviously now I can tell you're upset. How do you get over this and just sort of take yourself out of the situation for at least a while, so you can come back fresh tomorrow?
I suppose a good thing is that I've always taken it one race at a time, and I've done it through the whole year. So all I can do is my best in the next two races and show that we should have been champions this year. Whether we can be or not is probably out the question now, but of course, maybe we'll get lucky tomorrow and they'll have an incident in race 2 or something like that, and maybe I'll get lucky and somehow win. I don't know. So yeah, we've just got to do what we can. Take tomorrow as tomorrow and treat it as a brand new day. Ignore the championship and just see what we can do.
Okay, well, I know you've got family and friends around, so spend a lot of time with them, reset, come back tomorrow, and we'll chat to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Nice one. Joseph Loke there with JHR Developments, finishing 10th in the end there. Noah Ping, we'll ask you what happened between you and Oliver Stewart there. What was going on? Obviously you haven't seen it, but what was going on from your perspective?
He sent me in the last corner and I gave him room, and next thing I know I'm getting hit and trying to get spun around. So I haven't seen it, obviously. I'm going to look at the video, but I felt I left enough room, and I can sit here and be mad, but unfortunately we got championship leaders getting taken out in turn 1, which is unfortunate. So it just is what it is. I'm pissed off, but it's obviously not my championship this year, so I just hate to ruin it for the guys and that didn't get to race as well. So I was trying to keep it clean out there, let us race, but obviously something happened in the last corner.
Yeah, I know obviously it's a bit soon, but you probably looked at the car. Is there any damage on the car? Is that looking okay?
No, luckily I think I came unscathed away from that incident. So luckily no damage, probably just a bit of alignment and stuff, but nothing crazy, no, luckily.
Okay. Well, reset, come back tomorrow, and we'll see more of you tomorrow now. Thank you very much for chatting to me. Daniel Mavlatov is around here, I believe. Oh, yeah, there he is, right there. Let's go over. Hey, Daniel, tricky little race for you there. You went off once and then went off twice, and it looked like the engine was maybe not getting enough air into it, overheating a little bit with the grass. But talk about the first incident.
Yeah, it's just a racing incident. We went like 3 or 4 wide into turn 1, and 3 of us spun, so I think that's all to say.
Not ideal at all. And obviously when you then came in and you had grass in the air intake there, is that what was going on? I know that's what they were talking about on commentary.
Yeah, I was on full power, but it wasn't going. So yeah, I came out the pits and I had the whole grid there. It was, I couldn't, and then after a while it cleared up and it started to go again.
Well, that's a real shame, but you know what, you've had a good season so far. Is it 4 wins now you've got?
Yeah, it's 4.
Wow, I see 4 wins, and you've got the reverse grid race coming up after the second race tomorrow, so you never know. You're the reverse race king this year, so we're looking forward to see what you can do the next couple of races. Thank you very much for chatting to me.
Thank you.
Daniel Mavlatov outside the hill speed awning. We've got another race coming up. It's in the GB4 Championship at 5:25, I believe, sometime around there. I would basically just be making sure you're exactly on this feed around about 5:35. There we go. 4:35. Right, we'll just reset that. Forget everything I said. 4:35 is when you need to be back to watch the GB4 Championship opener here at Donington Park. And of course, you can look at all the photos and watch videos and hear more from the drivers on the GB3 Championship social media. And of course, the second race of the weekend will be at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll be back here for 4:45 later on for the GB4 Championship. And that was the GB3 opener here at Donington Park on the last weekend of the season.